All right, hello everybody. This is Josh, also known as Yashu, and you're tuning in to a dope The Lens of Yashu interview. And today we have Black
Black
Ambition,
Ambition.
who's also a music producer, a singer-songwriter, a community activist, and also an artist. So, Black Ambition, how are you doing today?
I'm really good. I'm really excited to be here. I really love the interview that you did with my longtime friend, Primetime Beats. Shout out. I've known him since high school. Dope, dope, dope musician. Like, I know I play a bunch of instruments, but he's a beast. So, it's definitely an honor to rock with you after you've interviewed him.
Yeah, not that's dope. I really appreciate that, man, and I also really appreciate the music that you've been putting through.
So yeah, I mean, I've been blessed. I've been really fortunate to work with some amazing artists. Currently, I'm rocking with my peoples at Sloppy Vinyl, and they have Law, Only JA-MEZ, the engineer there slash producer Matrix, amazing. And then with the situation with Jessenia, I've just been rocking out with her for years. Really good friends. We've been just working on this music thing and PR thing since like forever. And now we're really getting a chance to like see the fruits of our labor. We have songs in 6 digits, Billboard in Times Square, for Phantom Pains. We got 2 new songs lined up that are going to be dropping really soon. And I think that a product of why all the music lately has just been really good is just that rocking with really good people, reviving. And when you kind of get each other, that kind of like changes the landscape for what you're producing.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very like interesting aspect in how you put towards in your music, and also for She Cries, like the song, it was also featured on ABC 7 in the New York State as well as within like Instagram too. And you actually did like some coverage for that, which you also like linked up with a certain like not for profit for domestic violence survivors and for everyone else too. And
Yes, Sanctuary for Families. So
yeah,
yeah, basically the situation that came from that was um I was, I'd really just gotten into my teaching bag. I was teaching music, and there was always been an activist component to how I taught my students and what I wanted them to create. And basically, like their final projects at the time were just talking about a lot of my students were Dominican, Black, Hispanic from the Bronx, and basically what their lives were like. And a lot of them chose current events. They really just chose to speak about racism and just what it meant to be a Latin or a brown person in New York City. And it really made me take a pause to, hey, if I'm going to be working on this first song that's going to really cement who I am as an artist, I really wanted to be respectful of what the work that my students were putting out. And a lot of the students that were putting out really high output, really conscious work were my female students. Even when I took them to Rock Nation, so they can learn about music publishings and copyright and stuff like that. One of my students got to rap for Lenny S, and they really spoke about their life. And I was like, well, this first song I write, I was like, I can do whatever. But I was like, I didn't want to disrespect them. Just like, all right, cool. We're just going to do this typical R&B record that could be slightly misogynistic in nature. I really wanted to talk about something real. And I figured that domestic violence seemed like something that needed to be talked about. And if you know me or anybody that knows me, I'm a big Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis fan. I'm a big Prince fan. I play guitar, I play piano, I play bass, I play percussion. And I really wanted people to feel the sexy when I was creating the song. But then once they got time to write the song, I wanted to say something more. So I felt like somewhere in there, I really wanted to go for that Prince vein, but and be sexy and have the falsetto and all the other stuff, but still talk about something real. And that's something that Prince was always able to do, to stay controversial, to keep it real about things. And I figure if I'm going to try to walk into that that footstep, then that's how I need to put my song together. And we were fortunate enough to raise money for sanctuary families. And I was also on News 12. It was also on DJ Enough from Hot 97 on his website. So it did very well. And it just also kind of knee-jerked me into kind of having to put my project together. But we put the music video was really awesome. It was all put together by women. Jessenia Gallegos, she was everybody knows Jessenia Vice. She was one of my leads. Mallory Hunter, and just directed by a female director. And I just felt really that really mattered to me because I wasn't telling my story. And as a cisgender male, like I really want to make sure that people that had been through this and understood what this life is like, and also just understood what it's like to be a woman, were the one I was that I was making sure I was channeling their voices when we put this vision together. And also like shouts out to Angela Rosado. She's actually the one that made these shades. She actually was my first sponsor as an artist. So she's like, all the shades that you see in the video was sponsored by her. Also, so I had to come back and support. I had to get this dope hat. So, if you AngelaRosado.com, you need to support her. Female business owner, entrepreneur, really dope person. But definitely go support, because she definitely showed out and supported me.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. So let's get it started. And I would have to check her out, by the way, too, like once we finish it. So yeah, but like getting back to the interview. So you were born in New Orleans, lived in Long Island, and you're currently residing in Albany, or still in New York City?
No, Albany, yeah.
Albany.
So my family's from New Orleans, Creole all day, 504. Both sides of my family are actually from New Orleans, and that's really, really seasoned how I grew up, how I looked at things. I come from a music and restaurant family. My grandfather, in addition to hustling construction work jobs, he would go in there and tell them he knew how to work a machine, even though he didn't, and then get the job and provide for my family. He used to also play guitar and stuff like that to support my grandmother. And then my cousin, OJ, who passed away, also piano prodigy. And so I kind of take a bit of that with me in everything that I produce. But you can hear some of those Southern church vibes in how I speak and the chords that I choose for my music. Grew up in Long Island, love it there. That's where I met Cuff. Went to school with a couple of great people. One of my other friends, Siobhan Nito, she's she ran for the Olympic track team of Jamaica, went to high school with her. Just had a really great experience. And that's kind of actually where I found music. I was around 14 and my mother had passed away. And I really needed an outlet for all the feelings that I was feeling. And I just felt that poetry and prose and all that, it was not enough. And then my father, kind of being a jack of all trades kind of guy, had all these books, kind of like we had all these bookshelves in the basement, and all these random different books. Like my mom was a lab technician, so there was a lot of medical books there also. But if he saw something interesting in a book, he would just buy it, and if he had time, he would read it. And I found this book on music theory, and that kind of just shaped my life, because I was like learning about music theory before I could even play anything. And then once I got to Union High School, my music teacher discovered me and was like, wow, you know a lot. And she's the one that pushed through to get my scholarship at Five Towns College. So where I just went to school with a lot of great people who are on today. And, it's just been a long, great journey of discovering myself in New York. And then in college and be honest, where I kind of really discovered myself as a songwriter, as a producer. But then eventually I came to the headspace that I really wanted to express myself. And I felt that the best way to express myself is to actually find that courage and do the music myself so I could authentically say the things that I wanted to say.
Yeah, definitely. I know what you mean, and even like the environments. I'm assuming you had like a good environment in childhood growing up, and I guess like the music scenes in both Long Island and New Orleans had like some inspiration in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, I was just around a lot of great music. My mother notoriously played the blues on repeat since I was a kid. So Bobby Blue Bland, um, BB King, Muddy Waters, they were just all ingrained um, in my head, and so that also kind of feel like tempers a bit of my musicianship as well. But yeah, there's definitely that Southern Creole vibe there. It definitely if you listen to just even the nuances of how I speak and how I sing, it's definitely there.
Yeah, no doubt. I know like you already detailed your musical history and background, but throughout that time, like within high school and within college, were there other like inspirations on why you wanted to become like a producer and like an artist by any chance?
I was, well, on the one hand, I was surrounded by really just amazing artists that were just putting out great stuff, or we are collaborating and putting out great stuff. So that kind of really pushed me to be my best. And then also when I got my music scholarship, the Five Towns Scholarship, sorry, when I got my scholarship to Five Towns College, I was a lot different than everybody else there, because one of the things that I don't always tell people is that I was born legally deaf. So for me to earn this scholarship for music meant a lot, and for my music professor, Dr. Yui, to really believe in me really meant a lot. Um, so because I had like, I was like born legally deaf, so it was like 30% one ear, 50% the other. I had a bunch of surgeries when I was a kid. I had tubes put in my ear. Had an occupational therapist when I was in school. But somehow, by the grace, like, I found music and it made sense. And one of the great things that I love about music is that in everything I put together, for all the instruments that I play and I write and I vocally arrange and stuff like that, I'm sometimes also confronted with, I don't want to say my disability, but there are just certain things that I will never be able to do. Like, I'll never have perfect pitch. Like, there are things about like sound waves, like white noise, that just aggravate and get to me. Or there's sometimes like if I'm trying to play something like by ear, like I'll just miss certain things. So it's kind of like, because of that, I hear differently and I put music together differently. And that also really shaped my arranging and the chords that I chose and how I produced, because I really just thought from a different concept, because I was kind of always trying to take everything that I heard in my head and try to somehow get it out.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. And speaking on the whole like legally like deaf situation, I had like a prior guest before on the show back in February who actually had like an actual like physical disability where one of his legs was actually short, like his leg, his foot, and we talked about the concept of like bullying, within the sense of like, physical disabilities or other disabilities. So within your situation, have you ever experienced, like some form of bullying, like in your childhood, like based on the whole like legally deaf situation, or did you felt that?
No, well, I felt it in school. I felt that anytime I had trouble with a subject, when I was in elementary school, I felt like there was a piece of the assumption that, oh, I need some kind of remediation, or that there was an IQ issue for why I wasn't getting something, and maybe I was just really just having trouble with a subject, and stuff like that. So I felt like from school, I definitely felt that. but I felt that like I went to I went to a private school like for my first half of my elementary school journey, and there was some discrimination, and I think that kind of fed into that. In terms of my peers, I didn't necessarily feel that, but I definitely felt when I went to music school, like, I'm in college, I definitely felt some of my limitations, because one of the things you have to be able to transcribe. So the teacher will play something on the piano and you have to be able to tell what notes you heard and stuff like that. And for me, like sometimes like the notes were like in my head, like ping pong around the room, or getting those just like those note distances. I'm not a person like if I played the one note, I could kind of find everything around it, but sometimes like to just dry out of nowhere, sometimes to find a note was kind of hard. So it was just kind of like facing all of that like around with my peers was kind of hard. And then at the same time, a lot of my professors heard me play in my free time. They heard my arrangements in my free time. So they really were judging me at this level because they're like, they're jazz musicians and they're like listening to I'm putting things together. And they're like, oh, well, you got this. And we're like, so like, hey, like even like when I was like learning piano in college, they're like, they jumped me a bunch of steps because they're like, oh, we heard how you play. But then there was like certain basics that I never got a chance to learn. And I definitely needed to learn just because of my situation. But they were just like listening to the final product and kind of rushing me through. Like I know I finished like all 3 of my semesters of piano, like I finished them early, but then I realized looking back that there was some fundamental things that I missed because there's different ways of learning how to play. And it just kind of threw me straight to the advanced side. And there's probably definitely some fundamentals that I missed.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. And, there was like no sweat like when dealing with it. Like at least you managed it to get through in that sense, and it excelled upon your level in that sense. Yeah. So just digging deep into your musical interests and like the artists and genres that you listen to, do you have like any other genres or artists that you were influenced by at the time? And who would you like to work with, like music wise, that you haven't had like a chance to work with before?
Well, now that Jimmy Jazz and Terry Lewis are putting out music again and working on other artists, that would be my dream. I was actually lucky enough, like during the pandemic, I put out the first version of this Prince style kind of rock song called Paris, Milan, New York. And I overlaid it over like a Prince montage of like him like practicing in the rehearsal studios and stuff like that. And actually Jimmy Jazz and Terry Lewis, they liked it and started following me. So that was like, for me, I was like, yo, they're legends. Like, let's just go to Janet albums alone. Not anything else, just Janet albums alone, they're legends. And so they're definitely the highest on the list of who I want to work to, just that. Cause it just means if I can produce with them, like, just even from a bougie level, like I've made it. Like I can like, there's just across the board, there's like younger people and older people like, oh, you work at Jimmy Jazz, Terry Lewis? Okay, like you're there. I'm a very big Charlie Puth fan. He is a monster of a musician. I don't know if you've ever seen his Instagrams. He is a beast. I definitely would love to work with him. Usher is another. And then I know it's a little bit out the box, but I also I would love to work with Moneybagg Yo. I don't know. I love his music, and I would just the opportunity to do a beat with him, I think would be crazy. I would kind of like the same way like Rick Ross always gets a joint from Raphael Sadiq. I would love to be that person, like, oh, that he comes to when he wants to get that certain kind of like live instrumentation from. I think that would be dope. And then also, I mean, Bruno Mars, without question. That's just, I know I live in that Prince space. I live in that New Jack Swing space, and I think he gets it. And I think that we could do something that would be fire.
Yeah, no doubt. Dope selection of artists like right there as well. And I also know that you also stated like your creative like process and your like making like producing process like in some of the questions. like earlier, but do you have like any other like creative processes when like making music or producing? And what would a day in producing or making music be like for you in that sense?
Well, I have a couple of different processes. Sometimes my music comes out of all the things that I've done with my students. I kind of follow the school of thought of the great musician also from New Orleans, Nicholas Payton. He's very big on taking down the name of jazz because like even Duke Ellington called it, you know, Negro folk music, but he has a concept of Black American music. And that's kind of like most music in America is based on Blacks and African culture. And that's kind of like one thing I teach my students. So sometimes in working with them and showing them Chuck Berry and Little Richard and just the history of music in America, I'm kind of inspired by that. I know that even like, which is one of the songs I'm doing, we do in Paris, Milan, New York, came out of showing the students how to sample and make their own drums. And then by the time I was done, I had a really, my kit was kind of tight. And then so I kind of built that entire rock song around that kit that I produced with my students. So definitely like that. And then also for my other song, I'm trying to think what's the other one that I did. I think it's on the new project. So on the new project, I have a song called so I have so many songs in my head at one time because I'm currently working on the next EP at the same time. But the song I did, I Feel, also came out of that. I was showing the students how to use different sounds to make percussion sounds, and that kind of like really like sensual percussion, sexy line, that's sexy percussion line that kind of follows a bit of that Prince kind of feel came out of what I showed my students that day. So that's definitely a piece of it. The second part is I can be extremely nerdy. And me and the engineer at Sloppy Vinyl, Matrix, we have these really nerdy conversations about what DAW, what plugins, what sounds we use. And I can just, when I create a song, I really take these really nerdy moments of how I'm going to build it up and a lot like sound design. So when I have songs like Retrograde and Getaway, there's a lot of sound design that goes into that. A lot of the sounds that you hear in those songs, I built from the ground up. And then, or the way that I tweak things for especially in Here Before, which is straight up like, you know, New Jack Swing summer vibe, like I really had to build all those sounds. I had to build those vocoder effects for the voice, like and vocal chain and stuff like that. Shout out to Fat Napa in Huntington, Long Island. Did a bunch of these songs with him, and then also shout out to well, it's just there's so many people that I want to shout out, but my boy Kingston, he lives in Miami, he's from Jersey, amazing rapper and producer, amazing engineer. Between those two is how I did a lot of these songs, and just shout out to them for just helping me find my voice and be able to have those nerdy conversations and having those learning conversations of, because they're really big on like, oh, this is my process and this is the gear I use and this is why I use these plugins, and it really helped kind of shape and help me figure out my voice. You know, well, not only just for what you call it, for Chase the Crown B-sides, but even for my new EP, which is going to be Chase the Crown, a picture of Dorian Gray. I really appreciate working with them because it helped me create those foundations of who I was. And then now I kind of see where I want to go. And then the other part of just my production process comes up. I love working with people. I think that's my favorite thing to do, is to just, I know it sounds super typical, but to sit in the studio with someone and catch a vibe and really build from the ground up. And I love people who love that when you can actually build from the ground up. And that was really one of my favorite things working with Law. One of my favorite things of working with Jessenia is they were down for the process of building from the ground up. Working with Law, Matrix and I, we like, you know, trying out different sounds and drum patterns and the types of percussion and types of style music that we hear, like, you know, that's why you hear some of those Timberland influences in there. You know, she wrote the song while we were just exploring that creative part. And I think that's what helped us, like, a really great song come out of it. And then I had a chance to kind of bounce some ideas off of Law in terms of the chorus and stuff like that. And she's an amazing songwriter. So all those creative juices coming together created a monster of a song. So that's that's kind of like that big piece that kind of like that made that song so good. So definitely, you get a chance, I need you guys to go check out Over It on Law Spotify page. Support that. It's also on BT. Great song. That's also like sloppy vinyl. And then with Jessenia, all of our songs really start from the ground up. Like, you know, she tells me what she wants to do, the sound that we're looking for, and that's how Phantom Pain was born. The new joints that Bitter Better, that's going to be dropping soon. That's how they all started. And I think that building from the ground up, like, I think Neo is someone that's known for doing that. But you can tell, and it's like people that love the creative process really helped us get there. And then for the song Angel of Mine, which was just an amazing song to work on, because Jessenia, I, her boy Chris, who actually plays guitar for Mark Anthony. We had King Michael Coy, who produces for her, and Anderson Paak. We all kind of worked on this song, and I think all those great people together putting in their creative 2 cents and really vibing together created these really great songs. So just super excited about that. And even you know, you can tell that it was the right vibe, because even songs like Phantom Pain and stuff like that, it's still growing. Like, we released it a while ago and the numbers are still going up. Like, we're like a stone's throw away from 350K. Yeah. We're stone's throw away from 100K for Angel Mine. It's just like, and that song was just really about it was dropped for Mother's Day, and it was about, you know, what it's like for a mother to lose a child during pregnancy and stuff like that. And that's a very specific song, but people wants to hear it. Like, every so often, like a week will go by, and then you're just like, oh, we just get like another 1,000 plays. Like, it's resonating with people. And that's always one of my big things of just making music that resonates with people. So that's kind of really my process. It's like, I feel blessed that I can be inspired and work in a lot of situations. I know some people, like, they have a specific mindset and that's the only thing that they can do. But I feel blessed that I can just work in these spaces and in different environments and still put out something good and still enjoy the process of putting out something good.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, I actually like know what you mean, and like everything was just like spot on from like what you said. And I know that you talked about like sampling a lot, like with your students like in high school. So like usually like with one of my questions like about sampling, this was just like added on for me. So are you more of a like pick up the vinyls from the crates side type of guy, or you just find like a certain song off like on YouTube or on SoundCloud and then just download it and then find the drums or like find the lingering sound and then like play with it like on like FL and all that?
Well, so I sample, but I kind of sample a little bit differently. And these are one of the things I kind of learned when I was actually studying Jimmy Jam and Jerry Lewis, because I was like, I wanted to know more about them, and kind of finding out more about them, I kind of realized that my process was similar to theirs. They like sampling just things. Like, it doesn't have to just be a song. It can be a royalty-free sample. It could be, I heard someone like humming on the subway, I'm very big on just grabbing obscure melodies or pieces of a song or something like that, and then kind of just putting it together. Like I have Splice, I love Splice, because it allows me to, royalty free, like, and I grab really weird things when I sample. Sometimes sampling just means for me is I'll find some really crazy out there like synth line, and I'll take a piece of that and I'll like, oh, I like that. And I'll take a note and then I'll actually sample that to actually build like my keyboard set. Or different like pieces of rhythm sets and stuff like that, almost kind of like Timbaland does with the ASR and stuff like that. So my sampling kind of runs a little bit different. Like I can take an actual song and cut it up and sample. Like I had the opportunity, I cut up a Guy sample that I can't wait to just do something crazy with. But a lot of my samples just come from, I like just taking obscure sounds and kind of basing things around it. Or sometimes I'll sample myself, like, even for Phantom Pains, like creating a flute line and then chopping up and sampling that flute line to create that song, that sound, so it feels like the song, like, because Jessenia, she's South American, so it kind of just to follow those vibes, and she's from Ecuador, and we just wanted to kind of have those pieces be there, and that's kind of like where we started. So sampling is a little bit different for me. It doesn't have to just be like vinyl in that Kanye West sense. I think I kind of follow more of a Timbaland, more of a Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis sense of taking sounds and building upon them, or using a special effects to kind of like build up the beat. And even inside of She Cries at Night, there's a sample set in there, and really all it is, it's someone just I found this royalty free sample of someone just singing different syllables, like, because like you have this thing where it teach you how to like sing syllables correctly and stuff like that. And basically that's one of the samples that's driving behind that, and it's like 1,000 chops. That actually came out of also because I used to actually work for I used to intern for a radio station in Long Island called WBAB, and I was the person that had to take the dial wheel and I had to like chop up all the interviews when someone called in, because you can call on radio a lot of times, you just call in like live, because what if you said something crazy? So someone has to actually edit that before it goes on. So I got really good with just looking at waveforms and chopping them, so that really helped that. And then, like I said, I was very big on Timbaland. I studied how Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, how they did their sampling concepts. And also I was very big on chops. I love the concept like that Kanye West and 88 Keys and who else? Jay Dilla and stuff like that. There are people like that do chops, and that just actually, even shout out to my boy Nudge from college. Every day he would wake up and he play "You Don't Know What You Do." Sure I do. Din, like, and he found out that that the guy produced that like lived around the corner from him, and it just really inspired his chops. And he's like amazing. Like I remember he made an entire song for me, chopping up an old soul record and the vocals from like a kung fu movie, and built this whole record for me. And I would just watch people do stuff like that. So those chops really meant a lot to me. But yeah, so in terms of me sampling, it's not just I don't sample just like to build like to take a song and kind of revamp it. I kind of like, I like as starting points to build my sound, or like I'll sample like some industrial music because I like the way like those the tin pan, like those hits, and I'll kind of build from there. So that's why inside of my music you can kind of always hear another genre in it. So as much as, like I said, I'm a big Prince fan, a big Teddy Riley fan and stuff like that, you hear the other genres, you hear those EDM elements, those industrial elements, those rock elements in the songs, because I'm always willing to pull from them. And that's kind of like even going to a further piece, why I call myself I call my genre alternative pop. I feel like pop a lot of times for people of color get like, it's kind of hard because we create the music, but then like when we present ourselves and our branding and stuff like that, and we go market, I remember in previous projects, there was like, oh, well, I'm not necessarily feeling your style of R&B. I never said I did R&B. When you get a chance to hear the picture of Dorian Gray, you're going to hear 80s pop. You're going to hear Prince fueled rock. You're going to hear that vocoder fueled Teddy Riley style R&B. You're going to hear that Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis like production pieces and Prince chord arrangements and stuff like that. And you're going to hear it across all these different songs. I want you to feel like, oh, I definitely can tell that he listens to her. I definitely can tell that he listens to Charlie Puth. I definitely can tell, does he listen to Led Zeppelin? I hear some pieces in there. And that's why I'm a really big piece, like when I go on the record run for that next project, I'm really making sure that internalize that when you think alternative pop, like I want to be in those places like Olivia Rodrigo. Because that's alternative pop, realistic, even though she's pop and because if you listen, there's a lot of grunge on that album. Like some of the songs you could be like, Dave Grohl could have came in and produced, and you'd be like, oh yeah, that would make sense. So that's kind of like, I love people like Lizzo and Lucky Day and Doja Cat, because they really push the elements of what Black music's supposed to be, what urban's supposed to be. And they've really mastered alternative pop, but they're still crossover. So it's still pop, but it's still alternative pop, because of just, you listen to a Doja Cat album, you never know where she's gonna go from song to song. And I feel like I'm a little similar to her, because you'll hear a song that has like a 70s vibe, and then she'll go straight up 90s R&B. And then the next piece, it's like she was just channeling Young Thug. And I kind of like, I like that. And Lizzo too, is just from song to song to song, it's different. And I mean, I know some of that comes from also working with orchestra. He produced Sorry Not Sorry for Demi Lovato. Wildly influential producer to me. He's just solid. Like, you're talking about someone who's just a solid hit maker. Orchestra is it. So if that kind of like answers your question, and I know I kind of expanded upon into the next thing.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be like a very good topic for like people to listen to like also in that sense. Just getting on to like Chase the Crown and the B-sides for that project. I know that you already talked about the creative processes for certain songs on there, but in that sense, what were like the inspirations for either of the two? Like, I know the B-sides is more of like not a remix, but like extra like songs that weren't on the original.
So basically, when I did my original project under my old stage name, the Ambition 1706, I did Chase the Crown, and it was obvious Prince reference. Prince had passed away, and it hit me hard, and I kind of wasn't trying to, I could be Prince, but chasing the crown to kind of like chase that legacy. And those are the songs I was sure about. They were dope. But B-sides was more like the songs that needed more love, and I was kind of discovering myself. And because I hadn't fully discovered myself yet as an artist, as my own voice, the songs didn't come together yet. And so I kind of take you through it. So even Retrograde is a re-release, because I kind of went back and I was like, I like this song. It didn't get the love that it was supposed to get, but there's something more to it. So kind of went back with my engineer, Fat Napa, and we kind of retooled some things and put the song back out. And the song's got a lot of great elements to it, because it has a lot of like vocoder vibes, which could be R&B, but really heavy, like supported by like that Z fueled kind of like EDM. And then I kind of went off and, my guitar on the bridge and stuff like that, just real soulful, kind of like rock guitar. And just really, I wanted to revisit that song, because I felt like I wasn't even in the right headspace to promote it the first time. And then the song Here Before, real just big vocoder R&B, Teddy Riley, Blackstreet kind of joint. I just didn't think people were ready for it, because I was just around too many people say, oh, you're not ready. That's not what people want to listen to. And then you listen with like, Bruno Mars is dropping. I'm like, I said that people were ready for this. So I was like, I'm just gonna go out and put that out there. Same thing with I Feel, Come Back. We worked on it a couple of times. My engineer and I, we really perfected the vocal chain on it to really get that Roger Troutman kind of sound in places. And I just wanted it to be that ultimate like cuffing season song. We have Getaway, which I actually did with my my cousin, Righteous SoCal. You know, he's an amazing rapper from New Orleans. Kind of talked about working together, and then we finally got a chance to put something together. Straight up, I love the fact that it's 80s synth pop, but he's just straight up like New Orleans current hip hop on it, and just I love it for that. And then Shots and Broken Glass is a song that I did a while ago, and it was just sitting in the crates. I did a song I did with my boy Woodrow Skillson, also known as Architect. He did songs for what's the name? At night, late at night.
I think Kid Cudi.
Kid Cudi, yeah, he did Kid Cudi. It was a song I did with him. It was sitting in the cut. Actually features my wife on the song. We really want to I really wanted to kind of like, I was in that beginning mindset of like starting to really start dig through the crates and look and kind of find my identity in Prince, and you kind of hear it in like some of the chords. And then I was putting the song together, recording it, and I was like, it's just not. I was actually recording it with Kingston, and I was like, yo, it needs something more. So my wife, who, you know, she's been signed before, part of the Grammy Academy, Voting Academy, she came in and did the backgrounds and just really brought the song to life. So it's a lot. It's just a lot of different genres and stuff like that. And it's just, I want to say this song is a love letter of having confidence in myself. And then once we go to Chase the Crown, the picture of Dorian Gray, that's going to be, I know who I am and I know who I'm not. There was a short time period where like I really thought that my artist name was gonna be Dorian Gray, and it's just who I am now as Black Ambition, which shout out to my wife because she's the one that came up with the name. I really know who I am now. And I wanted to say the picture of Dorian Gray because, you know, the whole concept of the novel of Dorian Gray was like this person where he was like, in order to keep his everlasting youth and immortality, all the horrible, evil, inhumane morality things would go into the painting. And so that he could be this different thing that he presented, so he could be this beautiful thing. Meanwhile, the painting represented who he really was. And that's kind of what the picture of Dorian Gray represents for me. It's kind of like, I kind of put all the things that I wasn't, all the insecurity, all the not best parts of myself, I'm kind of putting that painting, and now I'm presenting myself as Black Ambition, knowing who I am, being fully formed, knowing what my sound is, and all that gooky stuff that's, you know, that held me down, that ate away at my confidence. That's all in the painting now. That's all behind me now. And so that's kind of like the driving vision. And you're going to hear a more confident artist on that project. You're gonna, like, when you hear B-sides, Chase the Crown B-sides, you're gonna be like, this is really dope, yo. He's like on to something. And then when you hear Chase the Crown, the picture of Dorian Gray, you're gonna be like, who is this guy? This is good. Like, there's gonna be no question to who I am. And like I said, we're going to take you on a musical ride because it's not just going to be one genre. And that really just, it speaks to my being a songwriter to show what I can do, and that we live in a climate where, and I think like someone like, I think like Rihanna and Doja Cat kind of make this famous, like you can have these different genres. Nicki Minaj as well, you can have these, you know, you can do Bees in the Trap and they also have Starships. And they have nothing to do with each other, but it's the same girl from Queens. Like, and so that's kind of like where I'm at. And I just hope that with that project that everybody finds a little piece of something that they love and a song that they love, and just kind of really set myself like, hey, I know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah, definitely, I know what you mean. So I also recently worked on a review for Chase the Crown, like the B-Sides project, and that will be dropping soon on the TLOY website for everyone who's wondering on when the next reviews that's going to drop soon on the website. And that will be the one, so stay tuned for that. And let's get on to this again. So
Yeah, so I worked with Law, Only JA-MEZ, which was really great because I did Off the Heels of his disco project, and to have an amazing alternative hip hop artist like just take that disco feel song and just kill it was amazing. So yeah, so Law, Only JA-MEZ, Jessenia Galagos, Jessenia Vice was her original, like her vixen, but now, she's goes by Jessenia now because like, she stepped into that next piece of her artistry as a musician, as an actress, as a model. And it's like, I just really work with really great people. And on these last couple of projects lately, gonna have another joint with my friend from Canada, Amanda Silvera. We're prepping that song. She's just an amazing songwriter and vocalist and like arranger. So it's just, and like what I love about all these songs are so different. Like even with Jessenia, like Phantom Pains is my first reggaeton song. If it's that like reggaeton kind of vibe, like that was my first one. That's not even generally a style of music that I make, but it's just our vibe in the studio and in the direction was just so much fun. And it was just able to take that. And I think also concept of me being a music professor kind of like really just help feel that, because I understand the genres to build, but just because you understand it doesn't mean that you're gonna get it right. And we got it right.
yeah, no doubt. You already stated like on working with them in a sense. You already talked about the She Cries music video on how it was like detailed. But just working with Jessenia, like she was actually like a survivor of domestic abuse slash sexual violence, and she
Yeah,
explains it.
so so it meant a lot for her to be a part of that project. And that's one of those pieces of making sure I had people who could authentically tell the story. And like one of my friends, like I said, Mallory Hunter, who's also in it, Kia LaFoy, they're just great actors and they just understand a woman's story and what they go through. And they just really help me tell that story correctly. And that meant a lot to me. And I had my other friend, Nadine Alexander, who's also from Uniondale, Long Island, just helped me just bring in the pieces that you don't see, like the makeup artists and all that other stuff. But I just wanted to make sure it was from a lens of just, I'm a guy working on this, and I really want to make sure that this is told correctly. But I think that there's a piece of important, it's important that comes from a guy for the fact of that men are allies and understand. And basically what the core of the song is about, and even the core of what I hope that you get from the music video, which shout out to my boy Gimme from Europe. He helped me out. He re-edited the video. We're gonna do this whole VHS concept. We're gonna be re-releasing it. But the song really centers around the fact is, I'm not asking you to, how can I phrase this? It doesn't matter if you believe a woman's story. There are women who have been through something traumatic and they are suffering, or they are rebuilding their lives, and then now they are now thriving. And we really want to talk about that. And when you look at the scenes in the music video, it's these after effects of people that have been through trauma, abuse, rape, just assault. And we as a society have to be able to step back and say, people are hurting, we need to help them, and we need to throw the politics aside. Something horrible has happened to women, the lifeblood of our species. And we need to figure out how to be there for them, understand their story, hear their voices, and not let them be someone who cries at night, like with their voices on dead ears. And I feel like a lot of times, like when you discuss sexual abuse and rape and sexual violence, everybody wants to argue that, like, did it really happen? Or like even with Bill Cosby, like, did it really happen and stuff like that? I was like, but there are really women that have been hurt. Like, someone's been hurt, someone's been drugged, someone's been physically assaulted, someone's been mentally abused. You want to stop short. It's like when someone goes, oh, but all lives matter. And it's just like, so we're just going to stop talking about the point so we can just argue about some other crap that doesn't matter because you don't want to deal with what's real. So I hope, especially even with this re-release, that we really open up that conversation to really talk about what it's like to be a woman in this world, because everywhere we look, like, there are men being, excuse my language, being asshats, infringing upon the rights of women or taking away the rights of women. And those are things I don't understand. Like, things that happen in Afghanistan, like, okay, cool, whatever your religion is, your beliefs are, why can't women have jobs? Why can't they go to schools? Why can't they speak their mind? Why do we still have states in this country that decide a man is deciding what a woman does with her body? Especially when some of those political candidates are quick to make a child disappear if it'll affect their campaign.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, I always feel like also like abortion is like, it's an attack on, it's an economic attack on middle class and poor women, because rich people are just going to go get an abortion wherever they need to. Doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. If they need to get one, they're going to get one, and they have the power to do so. Whether if they have to leave the state, leave the country. Whereas people, middle class, lower class, they don't have that option. So it's just, I think there's a lot to be said about a society for how they treat their women.
Yeah.
I think that's a safe space to speak from. And also, if someone just doesn't agree with me, like, yo, there are men out there doing horrible things to women, and if you co-sign that, you're a trash bag human being, and I really don't care about your opinion.
Yeah, no, I definitely know what you mean. 100% agreed. And like, I never really asked this before, but how did like domestic violence like play like a role like in your life in some shape or form? Like, have you noticed it from like a first-hand experience, or have you noticed like people around you do stuff like that before? Like,
I think it's a mixed bag of people close to me having gone through that at some level, and I'm not going to go into details because that's, like I said, once again, it's not my story. I feel that I can use my voice to bring awareness, but I'm not going to dare tell someone else's story. And then also just fuel from just watching the news. Like I said, when I wrote the song, I wanted to talk about something real. I was like, I could just do a traditional R&B song and talk about how I'm sexing someone down, or how I got it like that in the bedroom, or, all these different things that make a male artist popping when he drops a song. And I'm not saying that you can't have sexy songs. So, and I've got some sexy songs. Let's be honest, I'm a married man. I have some sexy songs. I'm not destroying that. But it was just for that first song out the gate, I really need to speak about something, and just watching my female students be real and keep it 100 every day and talk about real things. I felt that I had to talk about real things too. Because like even with my student that rapped for Lenny S, like she rapped her life. She rapped like the situation with her grandfather and baseball and drugs. And she didn't go, well, oh, I'm at Rock Nation, so I need to spit something that's going to get me signed. She just spit her truth. And for an opportunity like that, if my student can speak their truth, then I need to speak the truth about what's going on in this world as well. And something that kind of honored them, because they are going to grow up as fully functional women one day. That's a very real threat. The same way as Black men, as brown-skinned men, that threat of an interaction with the police could be the end of our lives. Like for women, that's a constant thing that they worry about. And so I just wanted to speak to something real when I put some music together.
yeah, no doubt. I definitely know what you mean. another person you had in the music video, you had Jennifer Lee, who's also known from from BK, Ladies
Yo,
for
so yeah,
Speed.
Jennifer Lang. So yeah, so at the time she was DJ on Hot 97, um, manager of digital content. She's now bossed up. She's now at Apple Music, just doing her thing. I've worked with her actually a couple of times, and even like even to that, speaking to the community activist side, we did a bunch of um industry roundtable talks, and she was part of one, especially one of the ones I did with Sunni Empire. Shouts out to my wife who helped put that together. And just making sure that minorities have access to information, because information holds us back. And she did one of the roundtables on media and how important it is. But yeah, no, I actually met Jennifer Lay, and I actually helped do some PR for her for a while. And I told her what the project was, and I was like, I would love if, because the original version of the song, my friend Serenity Settles from Germany, she actually did the World Health Organization stats on domestic violence and sexual abuse. And then what Jen did at the end is she spoke on all the same facts, but in English, because Jennifer Lay, yeah, she did hers in English because Serenity did hers in German. And I specifically did that because I really wanted to ground myself in what this song was about and talk about those things. But you know, if I said that in English, people would just tune out because you don't want to hear it. But by doing it in German, well, hey, what was that whole German part at the beginning of the song? I want to know what that's about. And hopefully in that, people would learn. We're doing a more streamlined version of in the re-release where it just kind of just drops straight into the song. And we don't have Jennifer Lay's piece at the end, but that's only because I just feel like the song is just as relevant as ever. But I kind of wanted to get straight to the message. And I understand that the world that we lived in, you kind of gotta get in and get out. And by keeping the video in that 2 minutes and change range, people would want to listen to it, hear it, and hopefully it would temper them to want change and maybe hear the voices that are silenced every day.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And just this is more of a generalized question, but with the Me Too and Time's Up movement in the creative arts industry, prevalent everywhere with the current R. Kelly trial going on in New York, Bill Cosby's acquittal, or I think overriding in the trial that he had. Like, I think the criminal trial that he had with one of the accusers, with multiple witnesses, and
Yeah,
every
he basically got off on a technicality. As far as I understood it, I think it's just that he there were sealed testimony, and his testimony that wasn't supposed to be used against him was used against him, and he was able to get out. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into that. I don't know all the facts that case, but I do know that there were women victimized, and they kind of just get back to the main point is that I just really hope that these songs, well, that song in particular, spreads awareness and makes people think. Because you can't change people, but you can hopefully open their eyes. And I just feel like I just hope that when people go, oh, this is a great song, also go, wow, I never thought about that. And that's kind of like my goal is just to hopefully make people stop and think. That's kind of like and be more willing to listen and to not be cliche but believe women. I hope that's kind of like the goal, but I don't necessarily want to get in this the details of anyone's trial or whatever, because I feel like that's not focusing the story on who's important.
Yeah, nah, no doubt, nah. I definitely know what you mean. I know we have like some questions left, so I just want to ask, like, tell me more about the community work that you've done so far, like in your life, also.
Yeah, so one of my big pieces of community work that I've done is my community roundtables. I've done them with the Sound Shop. I've done them with Sloppy Vinyl. I've done it with SUNY Empire. I've done it with different schools that I've worked with. And one of my big things is helping minorities, brown and people of color understand the music industry, whether it's intellectual property, media, finding ways to authentically tell their tales and their stories and know how to protect themselves and protect their music. And way often, yes, we always love to say that Black people have the sauce and we create everything, but we're not the ones monetizing it. And that's a piece of my industry activism. My industry activism is that the more Black and people of color that are self-aware and understand their craft and how things are monetized and how to protect the intellectual property and how to navigate this industry, the less disparities that we're going to see in the things that happen to minority artists. I also created a program called the Good Trouble Audio Club, where kids make beats and stuff like that, and they kind of use John Lewis as their focal point to do social media activism. So those are kind of like a bits pieces of just helping minorities find their voice and protect their voice. That's kind of like my piece in it. But even with other schools I worked in, I'm a part of the DEI committee, which is the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee. And we just even does like introducing young scholars to their local politicians and getting them used to being comfortable. Like I can ask my politicians questions and I feel like I'm on a level to ask them questions and find about who they are and what they stand for and feel like my voices are heard, even if I'm not old enough to vote yet. So just kind of like my thing is just using technology to kind of just accomplish that. And a lot of these also took place during the pandemic. So it was a time when it was really greatly needed, when we couldn't really always assemble in person.
Yeah, no doubt. Just to end off the interview with one last question. I know that you said that you have like another project that's dropping. You already stated that soon. But what are your like other plans for this year in terms of any music or other creative projects and so forth? And do you have any like final words you would like to say for any creative or any person pursuing their dreams?
Well, yeah. So like I said, my next project is going to be Chase the Crown, the picture of Dorian Gray, me, the BLK Ambition. I've got some really great people. I had the opportunity to work with Matrix on engineering this project and just making it the amazing piece of music that it is. My boy Jake from Jersey, he's done some really great production with me. We got really just to get that like that Charlie Proof sound. I'm looking to have my wife and my best friend like on some other records that we're going to be finishing up in the next couple of weeks. But like I said, it's just going to be a piece of just, I hope that you hear everything. I hope you find a song that you love on there. Like I said, we're going to have that vocoder like 90s R&B on there. We're going to have that Jimmy Jazz and Terry Lewis style like pop. We're going to have that Prince influenced rock. We're going to have that 80s style pop. And then, got one more thing, which is kind of a secret, and you're just gonna have to wait until the project drops to hear it. If I had to leave a parting message for other creatives, it's just beyond just being authentically you, take out the time to find out who authentically you is. Take a time to silence out your parents, the haters, the world around you, and kind of find out who you are, and then how can you be that unapologetic person without hurting anyone else and just be in you are and just stand in your truth. And also understanding that you standing in your truth still requires work, because you have to be the best musician, the best artist, producer, songwriter that you can be. Just because, hey, I know who I am and I've survived, everybody should just feel me. The world don't work that way. Whether that's mastering your marketing, mastering your craft musically, or just understanding how to tap into yourself so you can share those authentic stories. Like there's real work, and like just beyond the essential stuff. Like you got to do some business work with it too. Like anybody thinks that they told you that they did this whole thing on feels is lying to you.
Yeah, no doubt.
Um,
And BLK Ambition, thank you for coming by within this episode of
yes,
the TLOY
please
Interview.
follow me on the socials, the BLK Ambition on Instagram. Follow my other page, BLK Ambition Official. Find me on YouTube. Support. Find me on yeah, just Google BLK Ambition and find me all the places so you can hear me do all the things and all the music. And yo, thanks for having me and let me speak through your lens. Means a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. And for everyone, this is Josh of The Lens of Yashu, also known as Yashu, signing off.